Hello, you might not know it, but it's that time of year again. It's Jurassic season, that special time of year where we all get together and watch dinosaurs eat people. This year we have Jurassic World Rebirth to give us all of our human munching goodness. Rebirth is an action thriller about a team of mercenaries going to a forbidden island to try and recover live tissue samples from the biggest dinosaurs alive. The story was written by David Cope, and the film was directed by Gareth Edwards. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Manuel Garcia Rulfo. The story is your typical creature horror setup. You've got a team of people going to a dangerous island to get a MacGuffin-type object. On the way, they meet a family who survived a dinosaur attack, and they let them tag along. The journey involves the characters boating across the ocean or marching through the jungle while trying to avoid deadly creature attacks. They get picked off one by one until one final confrontation allows them to end things. There's a lot of tense action, a little bit of humor, and a teeny tiny bit of romance between Dr. Loomis and Zora. Cast-wise, a lot of the performances are just people trying to survive. Some of them are military members who face the situation with a little more stoicism, but at the end of the day, they all get scared when they're attacked. Outside of the fear reactions, there's a little bit of humorous banter, and Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey get to show off some chemistry. Visually, the journey takes place on a lot of built sets, with a few real locations in Thailand. They have the actors play out the journey and then CGI the dinosaurs and some of the backgrounds into the shots. Through this, they create an action-packed adventure in a beautiful jungle, where a team of humans outrun, outsmart, and outfight some of the largest, most terrifying creatures imaginable. Sound-wise, the film is filled with scored orchestrals, complex tracks that build up the emotional journey and turn it into an epic affair. They reuse some of the songs from earlier films while creating a few new bangers for the audience to enjoy. Which brings me to my review. The story is poorly written and has a hard time keeping the audience's interest. It's a generic adventure with barely developed characters that's super predictable. The action is all the same. It's people running away from CGI creatures that aren't really there. They barely escape them a bunch of times, and then eventually the dinos catch up to somebody and eat them. The film doesn't go hard on the deaths though. They show the initial bite, but don't show off any gore or any real injuries. It's hard to get into the story because the characters are all bland, and their mission isn't really explained all that well. They just say they're getting samples for heart medicine research, but they leave it at that and don't give any real stakes for it. The story also has a problem with plot armor. There's several characters who are just invincible, and the film doesn't try to hide it. The dinos are constantly right next to them with plenty of opportunities, but they always walk away unharmed. The cast does a decent job of their roles. They show off some great fear and pain reactions while playing along with the CGI dinosaurs, and they do a great job with the emotions they're given. A few of them are asked to pull off some funny lines and manage to get a chuckle or two. The cast as a whole has their time split fairly thin, but they take what they're given and do a solid job of it. That said, none of them manage to stand out because they're playing highly generic characters who don't get big opportunities to show off. The closest anyone comes is Scarlett Johansson with her love story, and even that is cut down to about 5 minutes or less. It isn't given the time it deserves, and she does not manage to make it work. The visual journey is clear and easy to follow. They do a good job of lighting and framing everything so that the action is clear. And they even managed to pull off a few impressive shots of the landscape. A lot of the sets they built were also pretty cool. The abandoned town on the island and the underground laboratory especially. I kept getting alien vibes during those scenes, which was super creepy. The visual journey also has lots of cool action moments to enjoy. They do a good job of building up the tension and making the dinosaurs look like a terrifying threat. The CGI on them isn't the greatest, but they did a good job with what they had. The big issue with the visuals is the lack of quality in the CGI. The dinosaurs often look like cartoons or worse, and don't mesh well with the real-world objects seen on screen. They lack definition and move robotically. Sound-wise, the film does a good job of supporting the emotional journey. The orchestral tracks come in at the right volume, provide a metric boatload of emotion, and help make each scene feel special. They give the film a wondrous, epic sound and help the adventure feel otherworldly. That said, they aren't all that distinguishable from other tracks of this nature, including the ones in other Jurassic Park films. It's easy to enjoy the songs in the moment, but you likely won't remember them even 5 minutes later. Personally, I found this film to be quite shallow. It does an okay job of the visual journey and soundtrack, but the story is extremely bare bones, and the performances are bland as hell. It doesn't give you much reason to care about what's happening, and they didn't do a good enough job on the production side of things to make up for that. I wasn't expecting much after the last few Jurassic Park films, but man, did they manage to underwhelm me anyway. If you want a film you can watch and laugh at, this one has lots of flaws to pick apart, lots of dumb plot points to laugh at, and some terrible CGI to gawk at. If you're not into watching films to make fun of them, avoid this like the plague. It just doesn't have anything to make it worth your time. If you really want some Jurassic goodness, there's a couple of video games out right now with comparable graphics where you at least get to make your own story. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 4 out of 10. Okay, normally I'd end the video here, but this film had me yelling at the screen so often that I just had to get a few of my rants out. There will be spoilers in here, so leave if you're worried about that. First off, the whole first scene is one of the most contrived bullshit scenarios I've ever seen. This guy drops a candy wrapper in a secured containment lab, and it somehow destroys a door and lets out the biggest of all the monsters. Why didn't they just have him be lazy or stupid? The wrapper getting sucked into the door just looked dumb as hell, and even the way he dropped it was weird. Like, did he not know he was eating it? Then there's Dr. Giga Chad and the Chad family. The doctor is supposed to be a museum curator, but moves and acts like a hardened soldier with a decade of experience. He barely struggled with the journey at all, while the actual soldiers were begging for help next to him. I get that these films want to show the military as incompetent monkeys, but they go too far and end up just being silly. Like, even the little girl from the family was more of a survivor than most of them, and she was like 10. Last but not least, why in the hell do these films always have two storylines? There's always a military guy and his team and a family with children that has almost nothing to do with the situation. Just pick one storyline and run with it. Every time they do this, they end up with half-baked characters that just aren't interesting. The film also feels like generic slop because they try to force a little bit of everything into it. Seriously, how hard would it be to write the military characters a real story and then just let the film be about them? Anyway, those are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye!